So the governor of Texas did something yesterday that I think is going to see an interesting storyline follow it. He designated a couple of groups terrorist organizations. Now, have we seen this before? I was trying to look for an answer for this. Maybe you know. The United States as a country hasn't designated the Muslim Brotherhood or CARE as a terrorist organization. So have we seen a state just leapfrog the national government like that? And that's not whether or not he's right or wrong. It's just, if something doesn't have a precedent, then this is new territory and should be treated as such. If it does have precedent, I need to know about it and see what happened last time this went down. But here's the report from WFAA.
Well, two Muslim civil rights groups are pushing back tonight after Governor Abbott labeled them foreign terrorist organizations. The governor accused the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CARE, of supporting global terrorism and twisting state law through intimidation and violence, a designation that bars both groups from owning land in Texas. Tonight, CARE says it won't be deterred, calling his claims defamatory and lawless. They just issued a letter pointing to decades defending civil rights and condemning unjust violence, including terrorism.
So this is something that has effects other than, haha, I'm putting a mean label on you, without the ability to buy land. That's going to have a big effect on it. Look, if they own land right now, do they have to divest it? We'll be answering a bunch of these questions. These aren't all rhetorical. But I'm kind of fascinated in the fact that Texas has leapfrogged over the United States government, who hasn't labeled the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization yet. But you want to know who has? When you find out who actually has labeled the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorists, you're like, well, what are we waiting on here? So the Muslim Brotherhood's been labeled as a terrorist organization officially by the governments of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Russia, Jordan, Austria, for some reason. I found two countries that openly support the Muslim Brotherhood that are sort of our allies, Qatar and Turkey. Qatar, the one with the Q. But what the hell is going on? If there's a group out there that Saudi Arabia is like, hey, I think you're taking this Islam thing a little too far. And our politicians in D.C. are like, I don't want to just throw that label around lightly. The hell's going on? So what is the evidence that we have Muslim Brotherhood's a terrorist organization? A lot of it's just financial ties to actual terrorist organizations. I mean, when you tell me that, that they've given ideological support to Hamas, that means nothing to me. Okay, so they have the same religion, or they've said nice things about Hamas. That doesn't make them a terrorist group. Now, actively using resources and supporting Hamas, yes, I can see why that would get that designation. But when you talk about, let's just focus on that one, Hamas. A major point on the ledger that Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. Hamas in 1997, when they did their 1988 charter, said the wrong date there. They explicitly identified as the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas isn't associated with the Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood. You got that? So we've also seen them linked to court cases that have gone through here in Texas. Remember the Holy Land Foundation? That was the Garland, right? They were convicted back in 2008 of funneling money to Hamas. Of course they're helping Hamas. They made Hamas. They are Hamas. Hamas is them. And I don't want to say like everyone who has anything to do with the Muslim Brotherhood is on the same level as Hamas, but there's definitely a connection there. So I got a video message, or an audio message on Facebook from Jonathan, who had a great reaction yesterday.
Man, I just saw Governor Abbott declared Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization or whatever. I'm going off memory, just read it. Which means like out in Josephine where I live, I'm wondering if that means that they're not going to be able to do that Epic City after all. Because I'll tell you this much, like when I go to the Walmart out there in like Wiley, I mean, there's so many like ladies in full burqa and again, whatever, like, to each their own. But I mean, there's a lot of Muslims out there, and again, not a big deal except for the fact that they don't seem to really like Western civilization all that much.
And the pushback here that you can hear coming from Jonathan isn't because, oh, well, they're not whites. You know, it's not because he's racist. It's not because they're Muslim or Islamic or non-Christian. You know, he's not being a xenophobe. He's not being a bigot here. He just doesn't like the way they treat their women. Did you hear that? The specific example he brought up? And that is something that bothers me. And why doesn't that bother feminists more? You know, you talk about how you're fighting the patriarchy. This is a real patriarchy. You're fighting pretend sexism and bigotry in America. Oh yeah, there's a war on women. Sure there is. And then you actually have a society, a religion, an ethos that oppresses women, and you're on their side. You flying Palestinian flags on their behalf. You're not worried that they want to build cities here in Texas where this law that is specifically anti-women sees women as second-class citizens. You're not fighting against that? No, they'll fight against you, though. They'll fight against you. They are melting down right now because Trump called a reporter piggy yesterday. Piggy. Even if that's true, I think he might have said Peggy, like if that's her name. But let's just go ahead and take the worst case scenario, and I'll play the audio later. Even if he did say piggy, yeah, that's an ugly thing to say. Women deserve to be treated better. Now do Islam. If you're upset about piggy, but you're not upset about the way that women are treated in fundamentalist Islamic societies, you're a hack. You're dishonest. And this isn't a blanket condemnation of all Muslims. I used to work and I was good friends with a Muslim fella, and his sister didn't have to wear a hijab. His mom didn't wear a hijab. In fact, they did a lot of haram things. They ate the cold cut combo from Subway, you know, because it has pork in it. That's haram. Cleo used to wear gold jewelry, which is also haram. So no, if you're a Muslim, that doesn't necessarily make you bad. No one's fussing about Dave Chappelle being a Muslim or Casey Kasem being a Muslim. As long as you assimilate in society, no one's got a problem with you. But when you want to segregate out, when you want to make your own cities, when you want to institute Sharia law, when you want to treat women like second-class citizens, when you want to invade, multiply, and conquer all the countries on planet Earth because you've been driven to do so by your beliefs, that's where we have a problem. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next on the James Show, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express is going to talk a little bit more about this Muslim Brotherhood designation and then some other Texas news. We have the 10 Commandments ruling. We have the redistricting ruling. We have DART circling the drain, and we'll talk about it all. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express, next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the governor declares Muslim Brotherhood to be a terrorist organization. What does that mean for Texas? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. My next guest is going to help us flesh this out. Chris Putnam back on from the Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com. And I know y'all have some news today, but we'll talk about that probably in the next segment. I want to start with the big headline here. Governor Abbott, first off, I'm a little shocked that Texas did this before it was put through in D.C. How do you explain that one? Well, I'm waiting for some more in-depth reports to come down on this because does the Muslim Brotherhood already own land in Texas? And if so, would they have to divest it? Someone at the Dallas Express is working on it. I see. So the question I already got an email, Facebook message, and a audio Facebook message. Is this going to prevent them from building the Epic City? I know they've tried to rebrand it and give it a new name here, like the Meadows or something, tranquil like that. But is this going to stop the Sharia cities? Well, and that's the other thing that this triggers now. And this is kind of a recent law, from what I understand. Once we do this Muslim terrorist designation, now Ken Paxton, as the Attorney General, is doing some investigating into, is it just their finances? Is that where, or is that just where it starts? I see. We're talking with Chris Putnam from Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com. That is now the official newspaper of record of North Texas. Because, and the second story I wanted to talk to you about is the one that's related to you guys. Dallas Morning News announced, what was it, 26 layoffs? 46 layoffs? Something like that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people saw this coming because who reads newspapers anymore? That's been a contracting business. Far worse than radio has been contracting, and so not shocked by that. Just weird to see it outsourced. We're going to continue with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express coming up next. I'm going to ask him about the Ten Commandments ruling affecting Texas classrooms, the new Texas redistricting map. Just ran into a brick wall in the court system, and the DART revolt. We heard from the president of DART. We'll ask that of the guy who runs the Dallas Express next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Whatever sports you're already enjoying, you can add a little bit of spice to it. It's like putting ketchup on the sports you're already enjoying. Just makes it a little bit better. And look, I'm a big football guy. That's my jam. We've got basketball and hockey that happens next door. So, I mean, I'm just a fan by osmosis on that one. But even if you're into some of these lesser known sports, more obscure sports, if you're a soccer fan, if you're a women's basketball fan, if you're a boxing fan, if you're an F1 fan, I think that's racing. You can get some action on the Prize Picks app, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They make it easy. You don't have to come up with like a whole team and do a draft and go up against some guys in your office pool. It's just you. You get 2 to 6 of your players. You find one statistic on them and you pick more or less. And then you turn a little bit of money into a whole lot of money. And if you're just getting started on the Prize Picks app, you can use promo code WBAP and get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Take advantage of $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Yeah, you didn't know Casey Kasem was a Muslim? Someone just found that out and sent me an email or a Facebook message. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Yeah, I just Googled it real quick. Someone sent me a Facebook message. What? Yeah, his real name's not Casey Kasem. It's Kamal Amin Kasem. So he had to change it and then hosted the Casey's Top 40. But that was coming up because the Governor Abbott, has declared the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE a terrorist organization here in Texas. We were just talking about that. You can read up more at the DallasExpress.com. We're continuing with Chris Putnam from Dallas Express because there's 3 other Texas stories that I wanted to run by you, specifically one of them's North Texas. But a couple of rulings came down. One of them against the 10 Commandments being put up in classes. And in fact, in the 14 school districts that are bringing the lawsuit, a judge ordered them they have to be taken down. How's this going to end up, Chris? Was this a well-intended law and exercise that's not going to survive the courts? No, that's interesting. How do you think it's going to survive the whole separation between church and state idea? Right? Well, I also think it would be an interesting experiment. What if we just put the 10 Commandments in like maybe half of the classrooms, and in the other half we let the 10 Commandments out, and we'll see if there was any difference in, the progress made by the ones who are at least exposed to some moral code on a regular basis. All right. The other court case I wanted to run by you, the redistricting map got thrown out by a judge. Now it's not a done deal. I'm hearing this is already being appealed and could still survive. But will it survive in time for the next election? Well, also like I love the example of Massachusetts. 40% of Massachusetts votes for Republicans. They have 0 congressional representatives out of Massachusetts that are Republican. So really, you people that are so concerned about fairness and gerrymandering, you must be really upset about Massachusetts. Oh, that's a great example. This is why we have you on. Chris Putnam from Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com. There is a revolt underway against DART. We have 4 of the members cities that are going to put it to their voters next year on whether or not they should withdraw from DART. Now, I was kind of cautiously optimistic until I saw this interview with the president of DART, or CEO of DART, Nadine Lee. She talked to WFAA, our news partner, And I was kind of pleasantly surprised about how pessimistic she was about the votes. Do you think Dart is going to get kicked out of the suburbs? I like that theory. I mean, I hope it gets struck down and I hope they don't come up with a deal, but that seems pretty plausible. A couple of statistics I want to put in your head before I let you go here, Chris. Number one, we learned that the number of commuters in Dallas Fort Worth who actually use DART, 0.6% of commuters, Chris. That's how low it's gotten. Before DART was enacted in 1983, it was 3.4%. So DART has actually driven people away from public transportation. They don't seem to brag about that one. Yeah, or an Uber Black. Also, I hear you guys have an app coming out for the Dallas Express. Finally, you only got 30 seconds, but is it out yet? All right, enough of the commercial. All right, thank you very much. Coming up next, you're going to hear some of that interview with the DART president with WFAA over the weekend. And she's not too optimistic, and that makes me feel really good. 800 288 9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Dan Bongino. Hey, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, who got attacked by a bat today. Did you hear about that? Well, I know you heard about it. You work here. Just if you missed it earlier, all day listeners, you might have noticed they were going to a commercial and they said, "Oh my goodness, I think a bat just flew behind Scott." Yeah, I think it landed. It's in the studio. If we don't come back, it's because we were trying to get rid of a bat, y'all. And then they didn't come back. They started playing yesterday's show, and we're like, "Oh my goodness, they're fighting a bat over there." Yeah, you know what? I was prepping the show, so I missed when they came back. I guess they told the story. I'm going to go back and listen to that. Check out the podcast for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. We're talking about all things Texas right now. Just a flurry of Texas news in the last 24 hours. Governor Abbott declared the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as terrorist organizations. The 10 Commandments law got slapped down in a court for the 14 districts that are suing. The redistricting map got slapped down in another ruling that's now already being repealed. The DART revolt is going pretty well. Dallas Morning News is outsourcing what few journalists in North Texas they have left. There's a lot going on. 800-288-9227. This is Steve in Alvarado. You're on WBAP.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why is everybody making a big deal out of this redistricting? Donald Trump proved that redistricting doesn't help. It's the candidate. He won every district virtually, Democrat and Republican. So why are the Republicans so worried about, they have more candidates that are Democrat than Republican? Is it because we have such weak candidates, and so we're trying to stuff us, with ballots?
So the redistricting is, it's all about the number of congressmen that are in the House of Representatives in D.C. for the Republicans.
I know that.
So that's why they're upset about it. They think it'll be harder to get more to win these seats. That's it.
But they're worried about not being able to win it with a Republican candidate.
Well,
that's why they're trying to get districts with more Republicans or more Democrats in it. And my concern is, what if we have such weak politicians running for those offices that we can't win unless we redistrict? That's horrible.
Well, I don't think that affects the map or the motive to get a new map either way, because we're talking about a map for elections that are going to happen 2, 4, 6, 8 years away, and we don't even know what the candidates look like then. So even if we do have crap candidates now, that's not something that's fixed and permanent. You don't need to make maps based on that. But
well, I know that, but it just seems to me Donald Trump proved my point. He was the best candidate out there, and he won almost every district, no matter what color of stripes you have on your cat.
Well,
that tells me he was just a great candidate, and we don't have great candidates overall in the Democratic or the Republican Party. I think that's where the weakness is in politicians.
Yeah, and it feels like the NFL, where there's 32 teams that have to have a quarterback, but there's not 32 guys out there who are capable of being an awesome quarterback. Yeah, and that's what you see in politics too. There's some shining stars on both sides of the aisle. Donald Trump, shining star for Team Red. For Team Blue, it really is Jasmine Crockett. And if y'all roll your eyes at it, it's because you don't like her. Y'all pay attention. She's gonna probably be on the debate stage, at least as one of the candidates for president in the next cycle.
You think they would ever go to something like have each county have a representative? That way it eliminates everything because the boundary lines are already set.
No, I would like that.
Why not? Explain why. Explain why.
Well, because we would have like 11,000 representatives in the House of Representatives.
Oh, no. How many counties do we have? 100?
100. We have like 240 in just Texas alone.
Okay, but we don't have 240 counties.
Texas? How many?
Yeah.
Yeah, Texas has, I don't know, how many counties does Texas have? How many counties does? I think it's like 243 because I've had to look this up before.
Well, look it up for me, please. I'm not very smart.
254. Oh, man, I was one off. Look at me go.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just trying to say maybe there would be an easier way to do this and keep the arguments down if we had better politicians running for office.
Well, actually, I mean, I have an answer for that, but no one's proposing it. In the original Constitution, if we went back and followed that, you got a new candidate for every X amount of population. And then when it got up to 435, they just fixed the amount of representatives. And if we let it go on population, we really would have something like 3,000 candidates. But I would could believe that's a better way to run our government. Because how easy would it be to kick a congressman out of office if it's just you and like, what was the original number? It was like 300,000 or 38,000. It was something really low. And so if we go back to the founding fathers, it would drastically expand the House of Representatives. But it also thinks like, how could you buy off the House of Representatives if there's 3,000 of them? And if they did
I agree with that. I agree with that completely.
And how hard would it be for an incumbent to just remain in office for 40 years if it's that easy to replace them because every race is so small?
Yeah, but if you could get that changed where there was so many more seats, you could also include in that change that there was term limits.
Well, I'm not a big fan of term limits. Again, the Constitution
Really?
didn't put no, I'm not a big fan. The Constitution didn't put term limits on House of Representatives or senators or even the president. And it really is kind of an infringement on your freedom. What if you do have a guy that you like? What if we get a really good guy in there and you want to keep him in there? If they're constantly going to be cycled out, though, then the real control, the incumbent isn't the guy in control. It's the machine. It's the party players that are going to set up and fund all the guys, and they're just going to have puppets that they switch out in their seats, and I don't think that's better.
Well, I just wish we could think of the right thing to do and get it done, because all I see is a bunch of crybabies out there moaning, groaning, pissing, and screaming.
Well, we don't have to think. The founding fathers already wrote it out for us. If we just return government to that, so many of these other problems would go away.
But then somebody needs to bring that up, not other than you. I mean, somebody in Congress needs to bring it up.
I'm out of time. This
Take care.
is a great call. We could have done this for another hour, Stephen Alvarado. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear some clips from the DART president's interview. She's not too optimistic about DART's chances for survival, which makes me very happy. 800-288-9227. It's The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The CEO of DART is worried, and that makes me happy. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So great work was done by our news partner, WFAA. They have a little side podcast called Y'all-itics, because, this is Texas and politics, and I see what you did there. It's a great name for a podcast. And the host had Nadine Lee. She's the CEO of DART. Had her on for 40 minutes and asked her everything pretty much that I wanted to ask her, but he was much, much nicer and more professional about it than I would have been. So great job. But he dug out some answers, some things that I didn't know that you probably don't know that you probably should know. For proper context to new people, DART is the local public transit system. It has the buses, the trains, this dumb little trolley over here. And 4 suburbs that are part of the DART Alliance are going to hold a vote next year and allow their citizens to decide whether or not they want to withdraw from DART. And if they get to withdraw from DART, that's probably going to set off a chain reaction of dominoes that could spell the beginning of the end for DART as we know it. And I say that's fantastic. I hate DART with the hot, hot heat of 1,000 suns, and I wish it would go away, never to return again. But I want to play you a couple clips here. Number one, I want to hear from her point of view. Why do you think these suburbs are revolting? Why do you think Plano and Highland Park, Farmers Branch, and Irving, they're all of a sudden trying to get out now?
For people who may not realize this has happened way before you and I came around. Back in, I think, 89 is the last time this happened.
Yeah.
Coppell and Flower Mound both left DART. But how do you think DART got itself into this situation?
So there are a lot of different factors, right? I mean, for every situation like this, there's not one thing that causes the discontent. I think a lot of things have happened. That our northern suburbs have grown quite a bit. The sales taxes collected in the suburbs collectively is more than 50% of the sales taxes that we collect. And previously, the city of Dallas alone contributed, or at least we collected the sales taxes that were collected more than 50% of the sales taxes in terms of the total pot. I think as a result of that, the suburban cities are saying, hey, wait a second, we get less service than the city of Dallas. Why are we paying so much money into the DART coffers?
What do you say to that?
Well, I think it's a reasonable question if you're thinking only of your city, right?
Yeah. So she gets it. She's not living in fantasy land. She's got her head screwed on straight. Okay, good. You understand that for the people of Plano, I think a lot of them have recognized that Plano pays more into DART than they take in all of their residential property taxes. Do you understand how big that bill is? And they've done the studies that show of the $100 million plus that we send to DART, only about $44 million worth of services is actually provided back to us. Why are we subsidizing the public transportation system of our much, much larger southern neighbor? It's been a bum deal for them. But here's something else I learned. Oh, by the way, at the beginning of that clip, did you know that Coppell and Flower Mound were originally signed on to DART and they withdrew just a few years into it? You think they regret that? Absolutely not. But here's something that I guess this could be true. I hadn't heard this before. I'm going to have to look into it. But Nadine Lee, the CEO of DART, says even if these cities withdraw, that they're still going to be able to collect their tax money from them. So you can withdraw and we'll start service immediately. But you still have to keep sending us money until this debt's paid off. Oh, really? That's interesting.
If they choose to withdraw, DART would discontinue services in those cities.
Immediately, right?
Immediately, yep. Pretty much upon, certification of the election, which is probably the next day or maybe within a couple of weeks. So, but we would continue to collect that penny until their debt service is paid off, because every city, when we signed up to build this system, every city took on a portion of the debt.
Right. To build bus stops, to pay for the buses and
mostly
trains
for the rail, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mostly for the rail, because that's the heavy infrastructure build, and so everybody signed up for that, and they're obligated to it, and so for some of the cities, it may take them 8 to 10 years to pay that debt.
Wow! So look, you signed off on the debt to start this place in 1983. So here it is, 42 years later. It's not paid off yet. Oh no, we took on some more debt in the meantime. So did you know in 1983 that you were signing on for infinity amount of debt for an indefinite amount of time? You were never going to be able to get out of this? I doubt that's true. I doubt they can do that to them. And the other question, again, the guy who hosts Y'all-itics, great job. He says, what about all these other cities that don't have DART? They seem to be doing fine.
I look at places like Arlington and even Frisco, which is still growing and may be able to take advantage of DART indirectly. But I see Arlington is getting along just fine without mass transit. Why do I need it in my city?
It is puzzling because there was this big question when we got the World Cup games about, well, how did you guys decide to pick Texas when Arlington has no mass transit? And I'll tell you that it's very challenging to try to provide some transit service to those 9 games that we're going to host. I think that Arlington does have a microtransit service. And what Arlington is finding is that microtransit service is becoming increasingly more expensive for the number of riders that they can carry. And so if you were to look at their budget this year, their costs for microtransit for that contract are increasing, but they're capping their ridership to a lower level than what they've carried previously. And so it's not, even though I think people can, take DART away or remove DART from their city, that doesn't solve all the problems.
All right, I love that. That was an answer that is not going to change anyone's mind. I love it because if you get a chance to go listen to the whole thing, I mean, you don't have to, but she is not very optimistic about DART's chances in the elections next year. And man, I just feel like if we really mash the gas on this, we could actually make a change that I thought wouldn't be possible. I thought me just making fun of DART for 20 years was just going to make us all feel better that, we have a punchline to kick around. But to actually get rid of it, that would be amazing. And I'm pretty optimistic about it. Coming up next, Tim Graham from newsbusters.org is going to talk about this Trump piggy comment. Did you hear this? Trump's in trouble for calling a reporter piggy. We'll talk about that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Did you hear the Trump piggy controversy? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. To get you all caught up on this, I pulled the report from Inside Edition. Inside Edition, that's still a thing? Yeah, I didn't know either. It's just when I looked it up today, I was like, I want to find the audio of that. And this is one of the ones that popped up. So out of a sense of nostalgia, here's the report.
There's growing controversy today over the president's treatment of a reporter aboard Air Force One. Yep, he really did call a female reporter piggy as she was peppering him with uncomfortable questions about the Epstein files.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when you said you knew about the girls?
Trump answered her first question.
I know nothing about that. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years.
But when she tried to ask a follow-up, he lashed out.
If there's nothing incriminating in the file, why not
Quiet.
This photograph of the moment shows just how angry the president is, thrusting his finger right in the reporter's face.
All right, now joining me, Tim Graham from Newsbusters. Newsbusters.org is the website. And one of the daily visitors is James Parker, as I'm doing prep for this show. Tim Graham, first off, I'm still seeing some people out there not even admitting he said Piggy. Like, is her name Peggy or something? And it sounds close to that. Did he actually say Piggy? Are we sure he even said that? Right. Well, I like the concern about the way women are treated by this guy. He calls them piggy, and then they go fly a Palestinian flag at the next protest. It's like, whoa, let me tell you how Islam treats their women. You're not going to be very happy when you hear about that. Yeah, that's kind of next in my notes. I was going to say, would you rather be called piggy or Nazi or literally Hitler? Because I think I would pick piggy any day. Well, and there's also not people out there who saying we need to punch piggies or, we've got to go fight the piggies or anti-piggy people are looting and burning down storefronts all across downtowns in America either. Yeah, this is the frustrating part about just having the media that we have. This is Tim Graham from newsbusters.org. I would like to go ahead and stress, I wish he wouldn't do this. Like, I don't think this was an appropriate comment. I don't think the journalists necessarily deserve that. They don't deserve great treatment, but you're supposed to take the high road. You're the president. I would prefer him never call anyone piggy. But I have a feeling this is going to be in the headlines and be tossed around and never forgotten again. Kind of like he said they were both fine people on both sides kind of comment. Are we going to be stuck with this one? Would you rather be called Piggy or a lion dog face pony soldier? Yeah, and that makes me kind of optimistic about the JD Vance's future because we haven't seen a whole lot of vice presidents go from vice president to doing anything. Al Gore never really did anything after he was vice president. The Dick Cheney didn't do anything. You have the one exception in Joe Biden, but Trump's first president, Mike Pence, he's a non-factor. So that makes me a little optimistic about JD Vance. He has a lot of the same qualities as Trump without some of the abrasiveness that necessarily comes with it. Right. All right, this is Tim Graham, newsbusters.org. I'm a big fan of your website. I appreciate you helping me out with the piggy story. Real quick from Jimmy Fallon.
And this is going viral. While aboard Air Force One, Trump had a pretty crazy response to a reporter who asked him about the Epstein files. Watch this.
Yeah,
If
Jennifer,
there's
go
nothing
ahead. Go ahead.
incriminating in the file, sir, why not take us in?
Quiet. Begin.
They don't even talk to you like that on Spirit Airlines.
No.
I mean, that's...
All right, the House and Senate have approved releasing the Epstein files, but will they be redacted so much it's useless? Will it be blocked somehow? You'll hear that, and what did Jasmine Crockett say this time next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let's talk about the Epstein list. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Because my amount of care on the Epstein list is about 5 right now. But if we're actually going to get the list and some people who are in positions of power, whether they're billionaires or movie producers or politicians or donors or whoever it is, if people are actually going to get in trouble, if they're actually going to get arrested, have charges, go to prison, and be punished for raping underage children, that's redundant, but for raping children on Epstein Island, my level of interest goes to 100 from there. Now, the concerns are starting to fall to the wayside. The vote got through the House, and then right after it got through the House, Jasmine Crockett made a bold prediction on CNN that it's not going to get through the Senate.
So right now, what I think is going to happen, the only reason that he is switched is because obviously he has had lots of conversations. Either the Senate is not going to take it up or they don't have the votes in the Senate. One of the two. But he never plans for this to actually go forward.
Or you think this is going to get killed in the Senate?
I think that this is going to get killed some way, somehow. Or the other option is that I think they're going to do the very same thing, and not necessarily the same thing, but the very reason that the files could not be released before is because there were active cases that were taking place.
Now, all the cases have been shut down. So unless they start up some new cases, I don't think they have that excuse anymore. But I did like the fact that she predicted it was going to be shut down by the Senate. Minutes later, the Senate passed it. But to be fair, she's like either that or. So she's still skeptical that they're going to come out at all. We should all have a healthy dose of skepticism. So she's not wrong to think that. Here's where it gets really weird, though. We learned some new things this week. You know, the new records that were released not by the government, not by a leaking bureaucrat, but by the Epstein estate itself. We learned about how much contact he was having, text messages and emails, with people that you may have heard of, people in positions of power, people who are actively in Congress at the time. This is Will Cain yesterday.
Democrats have quite a documented history corresponding with Epstein. Here's some examples from The Guardian. Larry Summers, Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton and former president of Harvard, discussed his interactions with a woman, and Epstein offered coaching in his response. He wrote, "You reacted well. Annoyed shows caring. No whining showed strength." In another email, Summers opined, "I'm trying to figure out why American elite think if you murder your baby by beating an abandonment, it must be irrelevant to your admission to Harvard. But hit on a few women 10 years ago and can't work at a network or think tank." He implores Epstein, do not repeat this insight. And then there's Catherine Rumler, a former White House counsel under Barack Obama, who sent a message to Epstein calling Trump, quote, "so gross." A portion of that message was redacted, but Epstein replied, "worse in real life," end up close.
Yeah, so they're not friends. He doesn't like him. And it's not all lefties that are rolled up into this. I mean, if it was, don't you think they'd be a little quicker about releasing it? Steve Bannon has a similar story. Will Cain again.
There are also powerful conservatives in his orbit. Quote, in several messages in 2018, he advised longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon on his political tour of Europe. Epstein continued in a follow-up email, "There are many leaders of countries we can organize for you to have one-on-ones with." Bannon replied, "Agree 100%. How do I do that?"
Now, if Steve Bannon, that doesn't mean Steve Bannon's guilty of going to the island and doing untoward things with children. But this gives you an idea of what's going on here. There's probably going to be some people that are close to Trump that are going to go down. There's probably going to be some people that are Team Red members that are going to go down. Same thing with Team Blue. This is a pox on both of their houses. Neither one of the Team Blue or Team Red constituents or elites wanted this released. So this isn't going to be bad for Trump necessarily. But if it is someone like a Steve Bannon, again, I'm not saying Steve Bannon's guilty. I don't want you to think that. This is going to be rough for him and explains why he doesn't want these documents to be released. Or maybe at least, can we slow roll that and just wait till I get out of office? Here's the wildest story. There's a woman in Congress. She's a non-voting representative from the Virgin Islands. Her name's Representative Plaskett. She's texting with Epstein in real time during a congressional hearing where they're questioning Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, and she's getting advice from the guy. He's telling her what to ask, and she's doing it. And now we have the evidence because they married this with the C-SPAN footage in real time. Check out Will Cain's explanation.
And as recent as 2019, Epstein was, and this is incredible, feeding questions to Virgin Island delegate Stacey Plaskett. On a morning of a hearing where the House was questioning Michael Cohen, Plaskett was communicating with Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein tells her, Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of secrets. Plaskett doesn't know who Rona is. You don't know who Rona is. And Rona's in all caps. So Plaskett responds at 2:25 p.m., Rona? Then she says, quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? Then finally Epstein responds, that's his assistant. Now listen, this is all of how it played out on Text Exchange. Now I want to show you the video from a C-SPAN airing. These are time-stamped. So is the C-SPAN time-stamping of that congressional hearing. And you'll see Plaskett look down at her phone as these texts come in and change her questioning.
So when he says there's a timestamp, you know how when you look at your phone and there's the bubbles and it has the time under it? That is in the screenshots that were released. Will Cain had those on the screen that you could see. And you'll see when they show you the C-SPAN footage, the times line up. You can see her get a text from Jeffrey Epstein. You can see her check it. You can see her read her phone. You can see her read about Rona. Ask about Rona right after that. This is from the hearing where she's talking to or questioning Michael Cohen.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a lot.
Oh my goodness, that's how bad it is. That's how connected this guy was. He's giving advice to Steve Bannon on his European tour. He's giving advice to a Democrat congresswoman who is questioning Trump's former lawyer. Oh yeah, if this comes out, this is going to be huge. Now let's talk about that if coming up next with James Varney, Real Clear Politics. If you have a theory on what's going on here, I'd love to hear it. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on Newstalk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are we actually going to get the Epstein files or what? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And that's the first question I have for my next guest, James Varney from Real Clear Politics, coming back on the show. What's up, Varnes? Answer that. Are we really going to get the Epstein files or what? Oh, I got to do this. Hang on. So used to.
I got to tell you, I'm coming to you right now from the streets of the nation's capital, and nobody here seems to know either. I think two things are true about this. One is that Trump administration has bungled this badly, right? I mean, they said they were going to release it.
Campaigned on it.
Now you got Congress. The whole thing has just been completely bungled. The second thing, though, is that there's nothing in there bad about Trump. There is no way that would have been hidden for the last 6 years or 8 years. If anything that they had on Trump that was even remotely sounded like it was criminal with Epstein, that would have been out. So here's just a guess, right, is that the Trump people probably thought there was more explosive stuff in the Epstein files about their political enemies. And when they got into office and got a look at it all, and they were like, there's not that much here. That's just a guess. But this whole idea that Trump did something untoward with these women it's offensive because it just belies what history we've seen in the last 8 years. And secondly, it's coming from a lot of people that didn't care a whit about Epstein and his victims for years, never said a word about it. And now, supposedly, it's the biggest story in the world.
Okay, so two things that still seem like reasonable hurdles that might stop this from actually coming out. Number one is they release it, but it's so redacted it doesn't matter. It's just like the other stuff we got. And when I say it doesn't matter, that means no one's going to go to jail. There's not going to be any new cases. We're not going to learn who actually raped children and punish them accordingly. And so that's one scenario I'm concerned about. The other one, and I've seen some people bring this up, Jasmine Crockett brought it up on CNN yesterday, is that they could say, well, we can't release all of it because there's some ongoing investigations and we can't compromise those by making this public.
I think you're right on both of those counts, right? I mean, we already saw when those binders came out that they gave out to some select influencers, and everybody was like, there's nothing new here. We already knew all this. So I do believe that you're right, that we'll probably get a lot of redacted stuff, that there's nothing really new in it, and it doesn't name any names about who was doing what on Epstein Island, which is like what everybody's hungering for. And then I do think it's also true, and I think they've already sort of announced that in the last 48 hours, that the Attorney General is going to say, I'm investigating some of these people, and therefore it can't be released, which isn't going to stop Trump administration from getting a lot of questions about this. That's not going to put it to rest. But I think you're right about both of those things happening.
You know, and I also, Varney, I remember the threat that came from a press conference earlier this year where some of the victims, the females, said, if y'all don't release the list, we're going to release our own list, and it's going to be pretty sloppy.
Right. I wonder what they mean by sloppy.
Well, they mean they're not going to redact it or be concerned about people's privacy, or if they're a minor, or if they approve, or if it's misleading or whatever. They're just
exactly.
Yeah.
And, Dershowitz's name might get thrown around again. I mean, I do think it's telling also that Dershowitz was Epstein's lawyer, at least for much of this time, if not all of it. And he's come out and said, now, admittedly, his name was also dragged in the mud. He fought that tooth and nail. But he said there's nothing there. I really suspect that at the end of the day, there were some powerful people that did stuff. These people are above the law. We've seen it a dozen different ways. We're not going to find out. And that this thing is just going to percolate until the Trump administration figures out they got to let it all out to put it to bed, or it's not going to end.
What are you doing in D.C. right now?
Believe it or not, I'm a finalist for a prize tonight. The Dow Prize, DAO. This is for reporting on the Department of Government Efficiency. So I probably won't win, but they did fly me up here for the dinner, so that's why I'm here.
Well, congratulations. You're up for some journalist award. Well, I hope you win, Varnes. That's fantastic.
I appreciate it.
All right. All right, we'll go have fun and dodge bullets or whatever you do in D.C. Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
All right, Weird Al Yankovic's coming to town. He's bringing his Bigger and Weirder 2026 tour to Dickies Arena September 25th with special guest Puddles Pity Party. That sounds questionable. You get tickets and information at livenation.com, or you can listen to the WBAP Morning Show this week to find out how you can win a pair of tickets from them. Coming up next on The James Show. I like to do this to see if Kim's paying attention. All right, she's not. Coming up next on The James Show, Democrats are telling soldiers and intelligence officers to refuse the orders from the Trump administration. Is that an insurrection? You'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know. Good to see you, too. You know, it's the timing on so many of these stories that gets your attention. It's the context that it comes in to where were these people 5 years ago? I'm going to play you a montage of people. They're all on Team Blue. So they're either elected Democrats or people who are in the intelligence community. You'll hear them introduce themselves. And they're telling cops, soldiers, and other intelligence officers to not follow Trump's orders. Refuse illegal orders. Now, this is the montage where I guess technically they're right. You know, just following orders, that we all decided that didn't fly after World War II. We all decided that you're a sentient human being. And if your orders are unconstitutional, you have a duty to not follow them. I'd just like to say, where were all of these people that you're about to hear in this montage during COVID? Where are all these people who were so concerned about unconstitutional orders? You know, when they told you couldn't go to church, when they shut your business, when they kicked your kids out of school, when they wouldn't let you gather, even in your own private home. So we had the violation of the press, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, all just rolled up into one big fat lockdown package. And none of these people were telling cops, soldiers, intelligence officers, government agents to refuse unconstitutional orders. They're just saying it now. For what? People being deported? Here's the montage.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
So I agree that there is a moral and legal obligation to ignore unlawful orders. But if none of y'all said any of this during COVID, your opinion means nothing to me. You're not for the Constitution. You're exploiting my love for the Constitution and my reverence for the Constitution in order to, what, foment hate against Trump? Yeah, so not buying that. Look, if you are not happy with the military doing the strikes against the Venezuelan boats, I think you have a pretty good case to make. I think that's an extrajudicial killing, an act of war. If there was a soldier who's like, I'm not pushing that button, I think there's a discussion to be had. I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, but I'll admit there's enough of a gray area there that I would invite that debate. But if you didn't also hold that same position when Barack Obama drone strike and killed an American citizen overseas, not on accident, on purpose, he was the target, the principal target of the strike, then I don't want to hear it. Then you don't really stand up for the Constitution. You don't really feel this way about unlawful orders, unconstitutional orders. And I noticed they didn't actually go into detail. What are you talking about? What's an illegal order here? Are you talking about the Venezuelan boat strikes? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about the deportations, the mass deportations? Are you talking about sanctuary city policies? What are you talking about? So we have a whole bunch of people. You can refuse illegal orders. You must refuse illegal orders. All right. So I think this isn't sedition. Technically, it's sedition. but it's closer to sedition than what January 6th was. These are people who are trying to cleave law enforcement, the intelligence community, and the military from their commander in chief. So, yes, of course, you have a moral duty to refuse illegal orders. I got it. But I have a feeling that these aren't even really illegal orders, just orders that you guys don't like. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, rumors are that we're about to have a pretty bad flu season. We'll talk to the head virologist at Texas A&M, Dr. Benjamin Newman, and see what he says about that next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, how bad's flu season going to be? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Let's find out with the top virologist, Texas A&M, Benjamin Newman. By the way, y'all's football team's having a pretty good season over there. Congrats. Yeah, well, let's not give ourselves a heart attack here. So, Dr. Benjamin Newman, thank you for coming back on the James Show. I wanted to have you on because some rumors are floating around that this is going to be a flu season that's sort of above average when it comes to activity. Is there any truth to that rumor? Is that what you see? All right. So, how do you tell the difference between a flu and a cold or other common viruses that you get? How do you know when you have the flu? Wow, it really is a test. Can you tell if you have the flu or something else even when you have it? Okay. Well, let's talk about how do you recommend preventing it besides the vaccine? What else do you recommend for people to minimize their chances of getting the flu? Well, I don't think phone booths are a thing anymore. Oh, that's what Ben. I need to add that to my list because my kids have never seen a telephone booth. Yeah. Anyway, the old Supermans throw them off, but there's not really some way you can seal yourself off. Is what you're getting at. So I had a doctor on the show. I think it was last week, maybe been 2 weeks ago. He said for people that get the flu vaccine, they are more likely to contract an illness than people who don't, and not necessarily the flu, just other illnesses. Is there something to that? Yeah, see, this is an ongoing debate between myself and mother-in-law, and the fact that anytime she gets sick, she goes out and gets some treatment of some sort. She'll go get a Z-Pack shot or something, and then when it clears up in a couple of days, she'll say, "Hey, look, it worked." I will get sick and I won't do anything, and in a couple of days it'll clear up, and I'll go to her and I'll say, "See, look, it worked." And so exactly. So, I mean, is there anything you can really do to fight a virus like that? All right. Well, we're having the official James Show Spin the Bottle tournament next week. What could possibly go wrong? So, all right. Dr. Benjamin Newman, thank you very much for taking the time out there. I saw some flu headlines and wanted to clear some of that up. So your expertise is very appreciated, sir. All right. There you go. So next up on the James Show, I want to play you Sunny Hostin from The View. Sunny Hostin from The View said something that, I mean, I guess technically it's racist. I'm not even sure if she is racist. This would meet the definition of racism if she meant it. I don't even think she means the terrible things she says. But she has been so indoctrinated, just so conditioned, so trained, so groomed to hate this country that every once in a while, the truth just slips out. And when she's talking about people in America, she's talking about you. She's talking about the people who disagree with her. She's talking about me. She's talking about Garrett across the glass and you, Sunny Hostin, this week.
I think that's very aspirational and that's wonderful. But, you know, because of my lived experience as an Afro-Latina, I'm able to look at this world with a different prism, and I'm able to tell this country and tell this audience and tell my fellow co-hosts some uncomfortable truths. This is a country based on racism and slavery, and founded in it. There is systemic racism
and misogyny.
And misogyny, and there are people that I've never met anyone that raises their hand and says, I am racist. However, there are people that seem to be able to look the other way when it comes to racism. So you have a president who traffics in misogyny, who traffics in xenophobia, who traffics in sexism.
And won
against a black woman. So don't tell me that this country is ready for a black woman. Don't tell me this country is ready for a woman.
All right. So at the beginning of that, I can tell you, because of my lived experience as an Afro-Hispanic woman, and then she just continues. You realize she is setting up the scenario to where you see these endemic traits, these ones I can't control, my skin color and my ethnicity. This renders my opinion more valid than yours, based solely on the color of her skin and her ethnicity. That meets the definition of racism. Do I think she's actually racist? No, but she just said a racist thing. That's for sure. But I want to back up to something. We had a discussion on Monday's show that I want to revisit, because on last Friday's Daily Show, Jon Stewart was saying, hey, right wing, you don't own patriotism. You're not the only people who love this country. You don't own the flag. And I was making the case, yeah, we do own patriotism. You're not a patriot. You do not love this country if you think that it is filled with racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes. If you think its founding moral principles was slavery and oppression, the foundation of our terrible society is white patriarchy. You love that? Is that what you love? Is that what you say about a country you love? Absolutely not. So let's revisit that here. Jon Stewart.
You just want that person to give you your country back because you feel that you're this country's rightful owners. There's only one problem with that. This country isn't yours. You don't own it. It never was. There is no real America. You don't own it. You don't own patriotism. You don't own Christianity. You sure as hell don't own respect for the bravery and sacrifice of military, police, and firefighters. Trust me, I saw a lot of people on the convention floor in Cleveland with their Blue Lives Matter rhetoric who either remained silent or actively fought against the 9/11 First Responders Bill reauthorization. I see you.
Yes. See, I supported this redistribution of wealth and you didn't. See, so I totally love this country more than you do. What kind of weird stuff is that? But this is the weird game they have to play, because at some point they have to recognize you're talking about yourself. You're talking about your own country. You're talking about, oh, this is a terrible country. Well, you're in it. You're an American. And at the same time, you can't turn around and say, you don't own patriotism. No, I think I do. I think the person that thinks this country is, for the most part, well-intentioned, its founding, its morals, its principles, its behavior, and it's full of overwhelmingly good people with maybe a few idiots thrown in there, here and there. I think I love the country far more than Sonny Hostin on The View or Jon Stewart on The Daily Show or really anyone on Team Blue. I think it's pretty clear we do own that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to have to hear CNN finally admit illegals are criminals. It's The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com before you do something really stupid and paint your house. Do not paint your house. Don't do it. If you're thinking about painting it, forget you ever thought about that. If you can't forget it, bang your head against the wall until you give yourself amnesia. It is such a bad idea because it's the old technology. Look, I wouldn't let you paint your house. If I saw you paint it, I'd slap the brush out of your hand. Just like I wouldn't let you buy a dial-up modem. If you're like, James, I'm about to go get a 56K modem, I would stop you. Dude, you're doing something really dumb here. We have a technology that far surpasses that, and you're going to regret it if you don't go ahead and do the right thing. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. And don't trust me. I'm just some loudmouth on the radio. Gary will come out and he'll show you how the technology works. He'll do a little demonstration for you. And if you like what you see, then you can move forward with it. There's no pressure here. But if you're worried about the cost, I can help you in a couple ways. You get 20% off if you mention the James Show now through the holidays. It doesn't cost anything to come out and get an estimate and have Gary show you how the technology works. So I'm not asking any money from you up front. If you do like it and want to move forward, we can even put it on a payment plan. So you don't have to come up with a few grand. You just have to come up with, I don't know, $150 a month or so to get that taken care of. So there's no reason not to go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Rhino Shield's better than paint. It's easier to pay for than paint. It'll last longer than paint, and you'll never have to paint your house again. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Did you know breaking the law is illegal? Yeah, breaking the law, it's illegal. CNN finally had to admit that. This is so fun because you've heard guests on this show, you've heard callers on this show try and pull this whole canard. Well, yeah, I thought he was just going after the criminal illegal aliens. Yeah, well, they're all criminals. Well, I mean, that's not... So they all are criminals. And what they need to say is they haven't committed any additional crimes besides immigration crimes. But in order to be honest, they would have to admit that these people were criminals in the first place. And they want people that they want their mindless foot soldiers, the useful idiots out there, to hate Trump as much as possible and think he's just scooping up people for no reason and deporting them, even citizens, people who were born here. It's like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Where would you deport someone who's an American? Are you deporting them, what, to Tyler? So here's Dana Bash on CNN, and her guest, is sympathetic to what she's saying here and kind of laughs it off. Like, yeah, I mean, God, if you want to be technical, I guess if you break the law and commit a crime, I guess technically you're criminal.
President had said is we're going to get the criminals out of the country, and what the people who work for him have said is, we don't care if they have actually committed crimes here. They see the crime, which it technically is, of being in the U.S. without being a citizen illegally.
Yeah, Eric, technically, yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, guy, if you want to be a jerk about it, technically it's illegal. I just love hearing these people at some point have to stumble onto the truth and finally admit that this narrative that they've been pushing this whole time. You know what I really enjoyed? If you want to go back a few years ago, I really enjoyed the Jussie Smollett situation because it was a whole month. You probably don't remember how bad it was. I don't know. Maybe it sticks with me because I'm a talk radio host. We were all over this for an entire month, like a month after it happened, like well into February. Jussie Smollett got an interview on Good Morning America, and Robin Roberts was throwing him softballs and believing all the crap that he said, not challenging anything. I mean, he was like kind of crying and holding back tears, and I fought back and all that stuff. And she was just a dupe. She was an absolute dupe, which would have been totally unconscionable if it had happened the day after the attack. But this happened a month after the attack. So what does that mean? That means for a month, there were people going online. There were people doing shows like mine. There were Fox News shows. There was people streaming. It was all over social media on all the facts, on how all this stuff doesn't line up and how all the evidence shows that this guy's totally lying. And she still went out there and did the little softy interview. And then when it finally came out, having to hear all these people say, wow, I guess he really fooled everybody. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't fool us. He didn't fool you. He didn't fool me. I kept the screenshot. I'll show it to you. I have to tweet it every once in a while. Where the story about Jussie Smollett's attack came out on like January 30th. And one of the members of the squad, Talib, had done some sort of tweet where this is Trump's America. This is kind of America we live in, where a gay black man gets attacked by guys in a MAGA hat and blah, 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 blah. And so I replied to that 0% chance this happened. This was the day after the news broke. Well, I didn't have a whole month to go line by line. You heard the story, and the first time you heard it, you go, oh, well, that didn't happen, right? That's what I said. Oh, that didn't happen. There's no way there's dudes that are walking around just carrying a noose in case we run into some gay black Democrat celebrity that we hate. We can put it on them and intimidate them with it. No one's carrying around bleach either. No one says this is MAGA country. In fact, I'm not even sure if anyone wearing a MAGA hat has committed a crime worse than jaywalking. Plus, they're not going to be in that neighborhood. Plus, they're not going to be looking to jump randos at 1:30 in the morning during a polar vortex when it's like 1 degree. But you don't have to be smart to be on TV. You just have to be compliant. Robin Roberts didn't get that job because she's a brain buster. Robin Roberts got that job because the people who gave her that job could trust her. You can even put Jussie Smollett in front of her, and she'll still sing from the script. And if anything, this should be inspiring to you. I am inspired every day. I walk through the WBAP newsroom getting ready for the show, and one of the shows that's on the TVs, we have a whole bank of monitors in the newsroom. There's an afternoon talk show hosted by Sherry Shepherd. You know who Sherry Shepherd is? She used to be on The View. She's had her own show for years now. She makes millions of dollars. On The View, it was exposed that she's so dumb, she doesn't even know if the world's flat or not. And she's not a flat earther. She just hadn't even thought about it. And I'm trying to play the audio and the computer's freezing up. Here, let's try this one then.
Is the world flat?
Is the world flat?
Yes.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I never thought about it, Whoopi. Is the world flat? I never thought about it.
You never thought about whether the world was round?
But I tell you what I've thought about, how I'm going to feed my child,
Well, you
how I'm
can
going
do
to take care of
both.
my family. The world flat has never entered into, that has not been an
What will you
important thing
teach?
to me.
You'll teach your son Jeffrey,
If my
right?
son Jeffrey asked me, is the world flat? I guess I will go.
Didn't
my bus already work.
Yeah. And you know what I've thought about? How I'm going to take care of my kids. You can do both. Here, Garrett and I are like reading history books and learning how to work all this equipment and staying ahead of technology and becoming AI masters, trying to get ahead in the game. This woman doesn't even know if the world's flat or hadn't even thought about it. She got her own syndicated talk show. She didn't get it because she's smart or she's going to bring you the truth. She's a team player. She can be used and manipulated. Same reason Sunny Hostin's on The View now in that same seat. Not because she's smart, not because she's insightful, because she fits the narrative. Same reason Robin Roberts got on Good Morning America. Same reason why most of those people are in their jobs. Not because they're smart, not because they're the best at it, but because they comply. Which is why I'm probably going to be stuck at WBAP for the rest of my life. And that suits me just fine. This is where I need to be. Coming up next on The James Show, a couple funny pieces of audio to get you out of here. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. So the top story of the day is Governor Abbott declaring a couple of groups as terrorist organizations. So this terror designation goes to now the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR, Council on American Islamic Relations. Quick summary from WFAA.
Well, two Muslim civil rights groups are pushing back tonight after Governor Abbott labeled them foreign terrorist organizations. The governor accused the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CAIR, of supporting global terrorism and twisting state law through intimidation and violence, a designation that bars both groups from owning land in Texas. Tonight, CAIR says it won't be deterred, calling his claims defamatory and lawless. They just issued a letter pointing to decades defending civil rights and condemning unjust violence, including terrorism.
All right, now I want to cross-reference this story with something else that keeps coming up. 60 Minutes did another story on Margaret Atwood, the author of The Handmaid's Tale, not this Sunday, but last Sunday. And we had played a little bit of that on the James Show. We were talking about it last week, right?
Atwood's books have been banned for content deemed overly sexual, morally corrupt, anti-Christian. She told us she was particularly peeved when a recent ban came from Edmonton, Alberta, in her own country.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the book is so banned, you can order it on this little-known website called, what's it called? Oh, yeah, Amazon. Yeah, that's how banned it is. If you order right now, you can get it to your house in 6 hours. Yeah, it's so banned. It can be express shipped to your house before the end of the close of business tomorrow. But that aside, I'm just using that to set up this viral video here where this lady comes in and she's like, hey, are you ready for The Handmaid's Tale? If you're not familiar with Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood wrote this book back in the 80s about how America falls into a Christian theocracy. These Christian fascist terrorists take over, and there is a problem with fertility in the future. And so the evil white Christian men have to seize control of all the uteruses of the young fertile women. It's like Rachel Maddow's worst nightmare. It's just fan fiction on hating Christians is what it is. But they treat this like this is right around the corner. Like this is so true. Anyway, check out this viral video.
So it looks like all the white women who voted for Trump are about to find out what Serena Joy went through when they cut off her little finger in The Handmaid's Tale. Because Trump's buddies are all over social media saying, hey, guess what? We are going to enact Project 2025, and Trump has just promised us all spots in his administration. Joke's on you. So have fun with that one, ladies, because we told you so. And when you are bleeding out in an emergency room, when they take away your right to vote, all of these things that are about to happen to you, they're not going to ask you who you voted for. They're not going to ask you what you thought about Project 2025 and you really thought it was Agenda 47, and that's not what Trump told you. They're not going to care one little bit because we're all going down with the ship, okay? Because this country couldn't elect a woman president. They especially couldn't elect a woman of color. So instead, you put a man in office who's guilty of assault, who's a felon, because you'd rather carry water for the white men in your life.
All right, that's enough of that. Do you appreciate the delicious irony of this woman that's so concerned about a theocracy taking over, that's a patriarchal theocracy that oppresses women and gives them strict dress codes, makes them cover up? Now, in Handmaid's Tale, they make them dress like a ketchup bottle with a big bonnet on, which is almost as bad as a burqa and a headscarf. Isn't that ironic? Don't you appreciate that? Here you have Governor Abbott and Team Red actually trying to protect women from this kind of theocratic oppression of women. Do you think women in Iran have the same complement of rights that you have here in America? No. Boy, if these people are so upset about how oppressive Christianity is to women, they're going to be real upset when they figure out what's going on in Islam, aren't they? Thank you very much for hanging out with the James Show today. Stick around. The great one, Mark Levin's coming up next. In the meantime, If you need some more James Show action in the next 21 hours, that's what the podcast is for. Go download the podcast at WBAP.com, WBAP app. But I know some of you use other apps like Spotify or whatever. I'm probably on that. The little podcast icon on your phone, I'm in that too. However you find it, go find it, share it, help me grow this show, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.